Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, as mass shootings continue across the United States, the Joplin community wonders how its police department would be prepared in the case of a mass shooting. Thunderstorm activity moving in from the northwest and eventually from the south as well. It's already underway on this Wednesday morning, and we'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center. Also, Fort Scott Community College alumni opened the Greyhound Legacy Center, remembering a 98-year-old football program that was recently discontinued.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good Wednesday morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News, where it's 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. We'll have those stories and much more to come, but first, let's get to that thunderstorm activity previously mentioned, as we've had it drop in from the northwest already. That band that we see now south of I-44 throughout southwest Missouri actually made its way from Emporia right through the 4 states, packing a little lightning on the backside of it as well. Heavy rain staying down to the south of Benton County right now, dominating Fayetteville, but I-49 will be problematic throughout the course of our morning. A look at the lightning tracker shows the majority of it still staying down to the south and out to the east, but we've got more to come as it backfills all the way to the Oklahoma Panhandle. And while everything dives off to the southeast, it does mean that anything that generates along I-70 will be headed our way as well. 68 right now in Joplin, 64 in Yates Center, 69 in Monette. Let's roll 70s in Miami and Grove, so we don't really have any problem temperature-wise. As far as what we're looking at, flood warnings that still exist, we're actually getting much better. Dive down here into northeast Oklahoma and the Commerce, Miami area, and that's where we'll find the Neosho River with a flood warning hopefully expiring later tonight. Right now we're looking at, say about 2 to 2.5 feet above flood stage. And then as we move into the Fort Scott, Nevada area, and we'll target Vernon County, Missouri in particular, the Marmonton River near Nevada, that lasting all the way until Thursday afternoon. So those are the only 2 flood warnings that we still have in effect right now. Going to have to tolerate our rain until the early afternoon hours. So today is going to be a little more elongated time period wise than what we've had past couple of days, but also too, maybe just a touch cooler. That humidity probably not going to be as extreme as it was for Monday and Tuesday. Here's a look at future track. We're really going to pick up here in the next, say, 2-3 hours or so. Heavy rain, lightning, and thunder as it progresses through. And then after it dives off, we're actually going to get, believe it or not, a break. That's right. From Wednesday through Thursday, a little bit of a dry period here with temperatures back up into the high 70s, low 80s for Thursday. Friday, we're going to be right back at it as it moves in from the northwest/west and is on us just in time for Friday afternoon and evening all the way into Saturday. Saturday and Sunday bringing us more mild temperatures, if you will, on Saturday, but then a heat wave going to hit us just in time for next week. Authorities are searching for a suspect following a robbery at a Webb City Subway restaurant. Officials say a man pulled out a gun during a robbery around 8:30 Tuesday morning. They say the suspect demanded all the store's money and left the area in a dark gray vehicle. That car, pictured, looks to be a dark gray Chrysler 300, dark tinted windows, and possibly an Oklahoma license plate. Authorities say no one was hurt during the incident. Police in Montgomery County, Kansas are looking for a hit-and-run suspect after they were unable to capture him in an overnight standoff. This is a photo from the Montgomery County Chronicle of a police vehicle outside an Independence home during that standoff. Independence PD was looking for 39-year-old Brian Metzger on a charge of attempted murder. Police say last Thursday, Metzger intentionally hit another man with a car, then left the scene. Police had reason to believe Metzger was in the home last night, so they surrounded it. But when they searched inside Tuesday morning, they could not find Metzger. A prosecutor charging a suspect in Aurora, Missouri for a shooting. Authorities say that man right there, 22-year-old Cole Walker, became angry with 36-year-old Shannon Goebel and confronted him at the Aurora Inn Motel. Officers say Walker then fired a handgun at Goebel, hit him in the leg. Officials say Walker left and tried to hide the gun. Walker charged with assault of the first degree, armed criminal action, unlawful use of a weapon, and tampering with physical evidence. Authorities say this is not a random shooting and the victim and suspect had a previous relationship. Walker has been denied bond. With the recent mass shootings happening across the United States, some questions are being asked about how local law enforcement would prepare for that event. Officials from the Joplin Police Department say they're proactive as possible when it comes to active shooter threats. Some officers also certified to respond to such events. They say they also have investigators who look into potential threats and monitor different schools.
And so they're each assigned schools, and so they go through and they kind of have the responsibility of gauging the temperature and the activity within those schools, and any information that's received, it's coordinating with other officers or investigators, and just sharing that information and following up where there may be threats.
We've compiled a list of local school districts and how they prepare for mass shootings. You can find those details on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A local organization is giving kids who normally would not be able to go to a summer camp the chance to do just that. It's called Camp Quality. It's hosting a week-long camp in Neosho, Missouri for children battling cancer or those that are in remission. Campers enjoy activities like swimming, a talent show. There's hot air balloon rides, as well as arts and crafts.
We do like tie-dye shirts, and this year we painted some wood crafts, and then we painted rocks, and I decorated cupcakes one time, I think, or a couple times.
Camp Quality also hosting a virtual summer camp right now for kids who cannot participate in person. Neosho School District formally announcing the name of the Performing Arts Center that's currently under construction at the high school. Facility is going to be named after the legacy donor, Freeman Health System. Freeman donated $1 million toward the project. Other sponsors also recognized at the ceremony. Part of the $20 million project is also funded by a tax proposal that was approved by voters in Neosho in 2020. Neosho school officials say a project will allow band, choir, and show choir students to perform at their best.
Well, it just fits our mission, and that is to give our students the greatest opportunity to be successful, regardless of what avenue they choose for that to be.
The Performing Arts Center, one of many new upgrades at the school district. You also have storm shelters that were completed at the elementary and middle school, along with the Lazy Boy End Zone facility. The Fort Scott Community College football team was discontinued last fall. But now alumni of the former program are opening the Greyhound Legacy Center to honor and celebrate the football program that lasted 98 years. The center has equipment and memorabilia dating back as far as the 40s.
Fort Scott was a town that brought these kids from all over the country, embraced them, fed them, taught them, hugged them, and it's just become a home away from home for a lot of these kids.
You still go through NFL rosters right now and find current professional players who took part at the Fort Scott program. And we're going to hear from a member of the 1962 team just a little bit later in the show. A look at our weather trend as we get into the middle of the week, and we know we've got thunderstorms on the horizon. A little bit going on right now. Most of it's still hanging out to the northwest. However, right below I-44, rolling in between Mount Vernon and Monette, we do see a pretty good system that's carrying just a little bit of lightning to it, but it kind of feels like it's sitting back and waiting for the most part. That's that one I'm talking about right there, kind of dominating Newton into McDonald County, right across the state line into northwest Arkansas and Benton County. Not a whole lot on the backside, so we'll keep our eyes on what's coming out of Emporia. And then also, too, everything that's building right now west of Wichita that will head our way, because we're not going to be done with this for quite some time. Probably take us into the early afternoon hours. It's going to be, not too bad. We'll go 80 degrees today. Humidity, chime in for the afternoon hours. A little bit of a break on Thursday. Heat wave coming our way on Sunday all the way into the middle of next week. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Cardinals looking to keep up that win streak, taking on them Tampa Bay Rays, and an Alabama community looking to help the homeless population as the World Games come into their town. Also, another COVID vaccine may be coming onto the market soon. We've got your details as you watch the KOAM Morning News and more real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Joplin Outlaws are 2-2 through their first 4 games of the summer. All 4 of those been home games so far. Joplin hitting the road for the first time this season and went up to Nevada to take on the Griffins. The second meeting already between these two four-state teams. Nevada won the season opener last week, and they won again last night. Nevada knocks off Joplin. Final score 16-6. Pittsburgh State men's track and field earning 3 awards from the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. The first 2, well, they go to coaches. Head coach Kyle Rutledge and assistant Jason Crow. Rutledge, your Central Region Coach of the Year. Crow, the Assistant Coach of the Year. Those two leading the Gorilla Men to their first ever outdoor national championship just a couple weeks ago. That included 2 individual national champions and 13 All-Americans. And of course, one of those, we've talked about LJ Kiner. He's your Central Region Outdoor Field Athlete of the Year. Kiner took 3rd in the long jump at Nationals, a best mark of 25 feet 4 inches. Then Kiner finished 2nd in the triple jump. Get this, 52 feet. Now between those and the 4x100 meter relay, Kiner earned 3 All-American finishes in Michigan.
He's a special talent, not only as a person, but my gosh, that guy is a freak athlete. I mean, he really is talented. And so what he did at Nationals in the long jump, and then coming out and did what he did in the 4x1 during the triple jump, and just competing, you know, and always staying focused and doing what he had to do for the team means a lot. He's going to USA's in a couple of weeks, and he's going to perform well there, and he's going to get that experience and knows what he has to do to go that next level.
Little Major League Baseball action as the St. Louis Cardinals have won 8 of their last 11 games. That includes taking 3 out of 5 from the rival Chicago Cubs last week. Cardinals remain on the road, opening a 3-game series against Tampa Bay. In the 8th inning, Harrison Bader singles into the gap. That scores Lars Nootbaar. Love that dude's name. This game tied at 1. Let's go to extra innings. Top of the 10th. Cards up 1, trying to add another. Bader does it again. Singles up the middle. Here comes Kevin Kiermaier with the throw. We got play at the plate. See ya. All right, the lead 1 going to the bottom of the 10th. 2 outs, 2 on. Taylor Walls. Off the foul pole. Taylor Walls walks it off for Tampa. The 3-run homer. Cardinals drop that heartbreaker, although that celebration was worth it right there. Final score 4-2. Royals on the pace right now to lose a franchise record to 110 games. It's not going to get that bad, folks. They will rebound. They do have a shot to even that 3-game series with Toronto, but here's the thing. Toronto's playing some of the best baseball going right now. You got Dante Bichette who's starting to hit. You got Vlad Guerrero starting to hit. You got Kevin Gausman who's been pitching all year long. And Toronto wins this thing in shutout fashion. Final score, 7-0. Oklahoma Sooners in the Women's College World Series Championship fought off elimination, beat UCLA 15-0, punching that ticket to the finals for the 3rd consecutive season. In those finals, a rivalry matchup as they'll face the Texas Longhorns. Texas beat them earlier in the year. As a matter of fact, you have to remember Oklahoma's only lost 3 games all season. Texas, one of the teams that beat them. Oklahoma trying for its 6th national title in program history. It's pretty interesting because they ended up playing UCLA in a doubleheader. UCLA came out and beat them in the game 1. And then if you blinked in game 2, next thing you knew, it was 3-0 after 3 batters into the game, 3-0 Oklahoma. And they actually finished that thing in fashion, putting up 15 runs in the first 5 innings. Coming up next on the KOAM Morning News, Justin Trudeau making a visit to the United States. We'll find out why the Canadian PM made it south of the border. Also, too, a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Kind of some interesting cloud cover over 7th and Rangeland as we find ourselves at 18 minutes past the top of the hour. Staying dry so far over the intersection in Joplin and 68 degrees. Not any difference between the temperature and what it actually feels like. We do have a little bit that's already sprinted down from the northwest and made its way south of I-44 into portions of Newton, McDonald, and Berry counties. And then we've got a little bit just to the south of Benton County as well. But we'll really pay attention to what's about to intrude upon us coming up from the north as everything drops from the northwest down to the southeast. So that's why it's going to take a little bit. Well, we're kind of lucking out during the 5 o'clock hour. That's going to change here pretty quick. You'll also notice too the cooler temperatures up to the northwest where that system is kind of hanging out. So as it rolls through, instead of warming up after sunrise, we'll actually see a little bit of a drop before we rebound right now. We still do throw up some 70s though in Miami and Cassville, throw Veneta in there, 68 in Joplin compared to the 63 in Iola and 64 in Yates Center. Do have our flood warnings in effect for the Neosho River and also the Marmonton River up in Vernon County, but that's about it flood-wise. Now, we also have some severe thunderstorm watches out to our west. There was one to our south, there was one to our east. Those, however, have been allowed to expire. So it's one of those things where it's not necessarily a consistent system that is well organized. It's kind of ebbing and flowing as we go along. We find ourselves under the jet stream, which is kind of running through the central portion of the U.S., bringing us some warm temperatures, not only for today, but we'll be able to carry those into the weekend as well. More importantly, here's the rain system as it drops in from the northwest, going to take us from, from about 8 a.m. all the way to about 1 p.m. Then we clear out for the afternoon hours. We'll get some late sunshine, just like we have been each and every day. Nice thing is about Thursday, we shouldn't have much problem or worries about precipitation. So we'll kind of give it a break Thursday. Friday, we're going to be right back on it, and then after Saturday, get ready for a good old-fashioned June heat wave. We'll throw up the 90s from Sunday all the way to the middle of next week. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Instapoll and something to talk about on our Facebook page. The World Games are going to be held in Birmingham, Alabama in just about a month. It's an event that features sports not included in the Olympics. During the Games, security protocols dictate no one can sleep on the streets inside a designated perimeter. Well, this is going to have a significant impact on the homeless population of Birmingham. So the community is coming together to provide temporary housing and other resources. Tristan Rupert with the story.
Spire volunteer crews are hard at work, taking measurements and piecing together temporary homes for the homeless to stay in during the World Games.
We just want to help any way we can. And this is just a small part of what we're doing to participate and contribute to the World Games.
Different organizations are working to create 50 different temporary homes. And of that 50, Spire and its employees will create 10.
We kicked off our project today a little earlier. And within the next 2 weeks, we should have the 10 our portion completed.
Spire leaders stress they are just one of the many organizations stepping up to help the city thrive during the World Games.
It's going to take all of us doing our small parts to make this successful. And what we're seeing today is just one small piece.
Another facet of the project are the resources that nonprofits and charitable organizations are set to contribute. Faith Chapel, God's Loving Hand Ministries, and Food for Our Journey all teaming up to provide for the homeless.
The three of us have joined forces to make sure that we're getting resources and planning events and meals to the homeless during the games. We're going to have showers, laundry. We'll have different services where they can come and have people help them get IDs, meet with counselors and doctors and barbers.
Those being displaced can access the resources from July 7th to July 17th. Brings us to our something to talk about. Our question is, how do you help your community? Gave you a what do we have? About 6 different answers that you're able to take part in right there. And we'll get to your results here a little bit later in the show. KOAMNewsNow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now. Come back with Health Watch next. Topping Health Watch this morning on Tuesday, the Senate voting to advance bipartisan legislation aimed at helping veterans exposed to toxic burn pits during military service. The deal builds on the PACT Act that passed the House earlier this year with broad bipartisan support. It provides care and benefits to millions of veterans suffering devastating effects from burn pit exposure. President Biden's son, Beau, an Iraq War veteran, died in 2015 from brain cancer. The president says he believes his son's cancer may be linked to burn pit exposure. Biden urged Congress to pass the legislation during his State of the Union address. The Senate will now take up the legislation with the expectation of final passage later this week. It would then go back to the House before being sent to the president's desk. The CDC and reporting the global monkeypox outbreak has surpassed 1,000 cases. Outbreak of the smallpox cousin in countries where the virus is not typically seen. Meanwhile, CDC issuing a higher level advisory alerting travelers to take great precautions. They include avoiding close contact with sick people and dead or live animals, and avoid eating or preparing meat from wild game. CDC says while the risk to the general public is low, people should seek medical care immediately if they develop any new unexplained skin lesions. A new COVID vaccine may soon be on the market. FDA vaccine advisors voting to issue emergency use authorization for Novavax's coronavirus vaccine. Full FDA still has to approve the vaccine. It was found to be 90% effective among adults ages 18 to 65 and about 79% effective for adults over the age of 65. Novavax's vaccine would include 2 doses, giving 3 weeks apart, and a 3rd dose booster 6 months later. Common side effects to the vaccine include pain at the injection site, muscle ache, and in rare cases, heart inflammation as seen in COVID vaccines that are already on the market. Novavax says its vaccine would protect against Omicron and other circulating variants. It's already being used throughout Europe, Canada, and Australia. We'll have more on this new vaccine in our 6 o'clock hour. So far in 2022, there have been more than 245 mass shootings in the United States. The same number as this time last year, yet far more than there have been in the days so far in the year. And an expert says we all can be traumatized just by seeing the scenes on social media or right here on the news. Mandy Gaither with more on what's called collective grief and how it can be used to cope and heal.
A graduation party, a grocery store, an elementary school. The past month, shootings have happened in places that we think of as safe.
We perceive threat and then we go into survival mode.
We don't have to directly experience something bad to be traumatized by it, says licensed therapist Jody Baumstein with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta's Strong for Life program.
So we might all of a sudden start perceiving the world to be an incredibly dangerous place. Or we might think, I've done something wrong to deserve this.
Everyone's response to grief can be different. Baumstein says it can cause nightmares or flashbacks, make us avoid reminders, whether that's people, places, or things, or keep us on edge.
The good news is, not only can we collectively grieve, we can collectively cope and heal.
Baumstein says we may want to desensitize ourselves. Avoidance only fuels anxiety, so feel your grief, then do some self-care. For some, that may be exercise, while others may need downtime. She says to take a break from looking at video and pictures of the tragedies.
The sweet spot we're looking for is this capacity to feel it, but not be consumed by it.
When it comes to talking to children about these tragedies, experts say do it while engaging them in something that they enjoy. For instance, talk while you play basketball, maybe a board game. They say that can make the conversation just a little less overwhelming for kids. Let's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, as mass shootings happen across the United States, the Joplin community wonders how its police department would be prepared in the case of a mass shooting event. Beautiful look outside of 7th and Rangeline, but thunderstorms, they are on their way. We'll have a rain-soaked Wednesday morning before a heat wave hits us next week with all the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center. And Fort Scott Community College opening the Greyhound Legacy Center, remembering a century-old football program recently discontinued.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good Wednesday morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News, where it's just a touch past 5:30. I'm Michael Hayslip. We got to those stories and much more in this next half hour of the KOAM Morning News. But first, a live look over 7th and Rangeline, where that's a tad bit of a gorgeous start right there. We're still about 25 minutes away from official sunrise over Joplin, and looks can be deceiving because that is not going to be hanging around all morning long. It is very nice and comfortable when you step outside. 68 degrees, little breeze coming out of the northeast. No difference between our temperature and our wind chill. And while our rain begins to taper off south of I-44, ducking its way out of McDonald County into Benton County, we're still awaiting what's up to our northwest, because if everything's moving from northwest to southeast, This will be the system that turns out to be a tad bit problematic for the rest of our morning. This is going to take us right through the Wednesday morning commute, and it'll pack a little lightning with it as well. Let's update the lightning tracker, give you an idea about what we're seeing. That's not really too bad just in the last, and that's going to be the last 5 minutes. If we duck this back, say about a 15-minute range, there you go. That's what that thing has done in the last 15 minutes. So that's what we're tracking for the most part. Flood warnings only existing right now on the Neosho River and the Marmonton River. There's a look at our temperatures. Do want to point out, look at Yates Center and Iola, top left-hand portion. They sit at 63 right now, and what that's an indicator of is as that system up to that northwest becomes a little bit closer to our highlighted counties, we will see a dip in our temperatures. So even the 68, Carthage, Joplin, 71, Miami, and Grove, we can expect that to drop a little bit as this system moves in from the northwest. I wouldn't exactly call it a cold front. It's not like it's not going to drop us 20 degrees or anything like that, and we'll be able to rebound, get back into the 70s. But let's talk about future track here. So as it rolls through, sticks around till, say, a little after the noon hour. And then after that, we rebound, get back up into the 70s, and then Thursday, we actually don't have to worry about anything. How nice is that going to be? We'll keep our rain chances around 20% for Thursday, mainly for the nighttime hours into Friday. Friday, we get a little bit more widespread. Now we're used to the rain. What we're not used to is a heat wave. Look at Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. My goodness, a little taste of summer coming to get us as we'll start next week up into the 90s. Authorities in Montgomery County, Kansas, looking for a hit-and-run suspect after they were unable to capture him in an overnight standoff. This photo right here from the Montgomery County Chronicle. It's of a police vehicle outside a home in Independence during the standoff. Independence PD looking for 39-year-old Brian Metzger on a charge of attempted murder. Prosecutors say last Thursday, Metzger intentionally hit another man with a car, then left the scene. Now, police had reason to believe Metzger was in the home last night, so they surrounded it. But when they searched inside Tuesday morning, there was no sign of Metzger. Authorities now searching for a suspect following a robbery at a Webb City Subway restaurant. Officials say a man pulled out a gun during the robbery around 8:30 Tuesday morning, demanded all the store's money, took off in that dark gray vehicle you're looking at right there. Looks like a dark gray Chrysler 300, dark tinted windows, possibly an Oklahoma license plate. Authorities say no one was hurt during the incident. A prosecutor's charged a suspect in a shooting in Aurora, Missouri. 22-year-old Cole Walker became angry with 36-year-old Shannon Goebel, and police say the two had a confrontation at the Aurora Inn Motel. And prosecutors say Walker fired a handgun at Goebel and hit him in the leg. Officials say Walker left, tried to hide the gun. He's now charged with assault of the first degree, armed criminal action, unlawful use of a weapon, and tampering with physical evidence. Authorities say this is not a random shooting, and the victim and suspect had a previous relationship. Walker has been denied bond. With recent mass shootings across the United States, some questions are being asked about how our local law enforcement would prepare for an event. Officials from the Joplin Police Department say they're as proactive as possible when it comes to active shooter threats. Also have investigators who look into potential threats. Some officers even certified to respond to these events.
We do take this matter very seriously. We've got policies in place, and we have officers that we send across the country to become certified to respond to active threats. They're certified to teach particular response tactics.
You can find how 4 state school districts prepare for mass shootings on our website. We've detailed a list of schools and their procedures at KOAMnewsnow.com. The Fort Scott Community College football team was terminated last fall, but alumni of the team have found a way to honor their past. KOAM's Jalen Banks with the story.
The Greyhounds would play their first game in 1923, and over the next 98 years would go on to win 450 games, appear in 4 national championship games, and winning one of them in 1970.
The program has a rich history, featuring players who would go on to the NFL, earn Pro Bowl honors, and win Super Bowls, such as Levante David and Jason Pierre-Paul.
Maybe on the sideline of a ball game, in the end zone after a ball game, standing outside that locker room, in the north end of that stadium when those kids come out. But I smell that grass, smell that uniform. You see those kids come out that north door, and I mean, your pulse jumps. Get a few goosebumps, and you were part of something that was really special.
The Fort Scott Community College football team would be discontinued in the fall of 2021 due to funding, but the love for the program has not died down. Alumni of the team have opened up the Greyhound Legacy Center in Fort Scott. The center celebrates and honors the program's history with memorabilia that includes bowl rings, Letterman jackets, programs, rosters, and more. Jack Milligan, president of the Legacy Center and member of the 1970 National Championship team, says that the town meant a lot to the players.
Fort Scott was a town that brought these kids from all over the country, embraced them, fed them, taught them, hugged them, and it's just become a home away from home for a lot of these kids.
Other alumni involved with the center say the bond with the team is special. Some have lasted for over half a century.
About 60 years ago when I was on the field. But it has meant a lot to me then. It's meant a lot to me over the years. About 5 years ago, our team organized a reunion here in Fort Scott, and we had about 30 former players that met here for the weekend. We had a great time.
In Fort Scott, at the Greyhound Legacy Center, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
For more details and a little background on why the team was discontinued, head on over to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Temperatures ranging anywhere from low 70s to low 60s. When you get up to the northwest, we're watching those temperatures drop, specifically in Iola, now down to 62 degrees, and that's a result of this incoming rain that we're tracking out of the Emporia area that is headed our way. We've pretty much dispatched everything that was down south of I-44, so now we await round number 2. It's kind of a combo effort as we'll see additional thunderstorm activity arrive out of the Ponca City area. You can tell out to the panhandles there that orange indicating severe thunderstorm watches. That stays out of our neck of the woods so far. But once again, as everything moves in from the northwest, that thing does have the potential to pick up some hail. No local storm reports as of yet, but I want everybody on their toes. That's what we're going to constantly update this morning, is what moves out of the northwest through the 4 states, because that's probably not going to end here in earnest till about 8:30, 9 a.m. All right, this morning on the KOAM News Now Insta poll on our Facebook page discussing helping your community. A group named Spire, hard at work building temporary homes. Now, the reason they're doing this, the World Games are on their way to Birmingham, Alabama. And as an aside, when the World Games come to your town, they stipulate that you cannot have anybody living on the streets. So what this group is doing is putting up temporary housing for those in need. Our question for you, how do you help your community? Right now, we've got 33% of you that say that you donate money, aside from the 51% that chose the other. 33% saying donate money, 16% saying help the elderly, and we've got a number of other choices there as well. We'll update these polls throughout the course of the morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Connect to us also, too, via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. One person who could bring us a story about a miniskirt, Jeannie Moose. But that's Sid's miniskirt. I guess it raised some eyebrows. Plus, the European Union deciding on a universal phone charger? All right, we'll have the latest on assimilation as you're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, we've seen shortages of all sorts of things over the past couple of years. And in parts of Australia, a shortage of lettuce is forcing a major chain to make menu changes. KFC said on its website it's adding cabbage to some products. That's right, cabbage, because lettuce crops around the country have been destroyed by flooding. The lettuce cabbage will be used in all products containing full lettuce that used to be on the menu until further notice. Customers who don't want the substitution can certainly opt out. Companies cited a shortage following high waters in New South Wales and Queensland. The change affects KFC locations in those states, as well as Victoria, the Australian Capital Territory, and Tasmania. This comes after KFC in Australia struggled earlier this year to secure its most important ingredient, fresh chicken. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Colorado, visiting the North American Aerospace Defense Command headquarters. You'll also know it as NORAD. Trudeau is joined by U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Department of Defense says the two plan to discuss the ongoing mission to defend the U.S. homeland and space domain. Trudeau released a statement saying the visit is an effort to continue the profound and long-standing relationship between the two countries. U.S. security agencies say Chinese government-backed hackers have breached major telecommunication companies. They reportedly exploited known software flaws in routers and other popular networking gear. Now you've got the FBI, the NSA, and the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency on this case. They say the devices, we all have them in our homes, they often get overlooked. Victims of the hacking have not been disclosed. Chinese government routinely denies hacking allegations. Clear out those drawers of mystery cables. I will not, because the European Union is officially adopting a common charger. It's called the USB-C. Now, Apple is required to adapt its products by late 2024 and is already testing the port in iPhones. On Monday, Apple unveiled the iOS 16. It also brings sweeping changes to devices. Those of you who often send embarrassing typos can finally rest easy. New operating system will let iMessages be edited, or for those of you that may have a tendency to send them to the wrong person, those messages can be recalled altogether. So look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door, right after this. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities searching for a suspect following a robbery at a Webb City Subway restaurant. Officials say a man pulled out a gun during a robbery 8:30 Tuesday morning, say the suspect demanded all the store's money, leaving the area in a dark gray vehicle pictured below. A dark gray Chrysler 300, dark tinted windows, possibly Oklahoma license plates. Authorities say no one was hurt during the incident. Police in Montgomery County, Kansas, looking for a hit-and-run suspect after they were unable to capture him in an overnight standoff. That's a photo from the Montgomery County Chronicle, a police vehicle outside a home of Independence during the standoff. Independence PD looking for 39-year-old Brian Metzger on a charge of attempted murder. They say last week, Metzger intentionally hit another man with a car, then left the scene, and police say they had reason to believe Metzger was in the home last night. They surrounded it, but when they searched inside, they could not find Metzger. Prosecutors in Aurora, Missouri, charging Cole Walker in a shooting. Authorities say the 22-year-old became angry with a man by the name of Shannon Goebel, and the two had a confrontation at the Aurora Inn Motel. Prosecutors say Walker fired a handgun, shot Goebel in the leg. Officials say Walker then left, tried to hide the gun. He's charged with assault in the first degree, armed criminal action, unlawful use of a weapon, and tampering with physical evidence. Authorities say this is not a random shooting. The victim and suspect had a previous relationship. Cole Walker has been denied bond. A local organization giving kids normally who would not be able to go to summer camp have the chance to do just that. It's called Camp Quality, hosting a week-long camp in Neosho, Missouri for children battling cancer and also for those in remission. Campers enjoy activities like swimming, talent show, arts and crafts. There are even hot air balloon rides. That's a check of today's top headlines. The news you need to know before you head out the door. And when you do, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say an eerie sight, because in some ways it's kind of beautiful right there with the cloud cover hanging over us and temperatures ranging anywhere from, say low 60s to low 70s. We've got a wide variety of temperatures. The key factor, though, is what's going to move in from the northwest here throughout the course of our afternoon, or late morning and into the afternoon, I should say. As it does, we'll see a drop in our temperatures before we rebound. Should be done with that by, noon, 1 o'clock. And then back into the 70s. Thursday's looking delightful. If we get through today's rain, we can sit back and all just enjoy a marvelous Thursday before the rain reemerges on Friday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. I'm going to take a little umbrage with the way that this introduction to this story was written, so just bear with me. So here's how it reads. It was the miniest of skirts at the MTV Awards, but it brought up a major issue. Here's what I take umbrage with. Is the dreaded low-rise look on its way back into style? When did the low-rise look become dreaded? If you're Sydney Sweeney, you can pull off anything you want. Don't need that script. We've got Jeannie Moose.
Euphoria! It was such a low-rise skirt that it raised eyebrows.
Sydney Sweeney swivels on the red carpet. She shakes and shimmers.
Sydney Sweeney, one of the stars of Euphoria, the show that won Best Show at the MTV Movie and TV Awards, made that long walk in a short skirt.
It's an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny micro-mini.
Displaying hip bones that could be mistaken on the red carpet for...
That clavicle, that bone right there.
Actually, the clavicle connects to the shoulder, and that at least was covered. But the low-rise skirt has made a comeback, worn by stars like Nicole Kidman and Zendaya. And now Sydney Sweeney was sporting a custom-made version by designer Miu Miu. But some are saying, pew! Sydney Sweeney is gorgeous, but low-rise skirts need to stay in the early 2000s. Most disgusting skirt of all time. I don't care how many celebs they shove into it.
She has taken on the low rise and she is taking it down to a new level.
Pop Sugar called the look bedazzling, but high-risers seem more frazzled than bedazzled. I loathe low-rise, LOL. She looks amazing, but I refuse to give up my mom jeans. High-rise for the win. Sweeney could be seen discreetly checking the placement of her teeny-weeny skirt, casually tugging at her itsy-bitsy button-down shirt, but no amount of tugging will make shirt meet skirt. Some may prefer to button up, but skirt chasers can rejoice over how little skirt there is to chase. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Honestly, don't know what's wrong with bringing back the late 90s and 2000s. Kudos to Sydney Sweeney for pulling that look off. We'll be back with an updated Skywatch Storm Tracker right after this. Skywatch Storm Tracker carved us out a circle, everything dropping down to the south. We've got rain up to the northwestern portion of the 4 states, waiting on it to drop in on us. Temperatures right now in the low 60s to the low 70s. Back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, Montgomery County authorities search for a hit-and-run driver.
One batch of rain out of the way, but another one yet to come. And then we're going to talk about a heat wave for next week. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And gas prices might be rising, but that's not stopping people from summertime travel.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Gorgeous look outside of 7th and Rangeline. But yeah, also too, Tanya, I want to do this since we have the power of live television on our hands. If we turn here, look at that. All you got to do is turn off from the north, go from the northeast to the northwest. And those skies, they darken rather quickly. 65 degrees, so we've seen a 4-degree drop now in Joplin in the past hour alone, and that's an indicator of that front that's moving in out of the Emporia area. So the colder temperatures come first, right in that diagonal dividing line that you'll see right there. That's where the cool down happens, and then we wait for the rain, the thunderstorm activity to make its way in next. Everything that we had down to the southwest earlier of I-44, excuse me, it's now dropped off into portions of Oklahoma and poor Fort Smith along I-40. They are just bombarded for the second consecutive day. Our temperatures right now down to the south still waiting on the drop, so that's why we've got a 10-degree difference between what we see in Miami compared to Iola. And as we look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker, we still do have flood warnings in effect for the Neosho River and also the Marmonton River up in Vernon County. As we make it through the morning, this thing drops in on us, brings us thunder and lightning all the way to around the noon hour before it clears out. After it does, almost rinse and repeat from Monday and Tuesday. Clear out, get some sunshine for the afternoon, make it up into the 80s. Thursday is going to be delightful. Thursday is a day we've been eyeballing this entire time, a chance to take a break from the rain and actually enjoy a June day because more rain on Friday. Let's talk weekend. Saturday is looking absolutely great. Sunday, well, if today's a cold front, Sunday's a heat wave. Ooh. And it's going to carry us into next week.
But at least the humidity won't be as bad this weekend.
No, it will next week. Oh, yeah.
No, this weekend.
This weekend will be, Saturday is going to be pristine. We're going to burn it on Friday. We're going to have a front move in from the north on Saturday. We're going to hover, and then Sunday, instead of everything coming in from the north, boom, south, Gulf moisture, heat from Texas, the whole nine.
So it's going to feel even worse than 90.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to be, I bet you next week we either end up, we won't get a warning out of it. I bet you next week we end up with a heat advisory at some point in time.
Well, we've been fortunate not to have one.
Did you just call Mother Nature a hot mess?
Maybe.
Oh, you.
Without those words.
I'm the one that has to deal with her.
Yeah, you do. You'll be the one to blame.
Always. I'll be at the grocery store this afternoon, so feel free to take it out on me.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. Montgomery County, Kansas authorities searched for a hit-and-run suspect after they failed to capture him in an overnight standoff. This is a photo from the Montgomery County Chronicle of a police vehicle outside an Independence home during the standoff. Independence police were looking for 39-year-old Brian Metzger on a charge of attempted murder. They say last Thursday he intentionally hit another man with a car and then left the scene. Police had reason to believe Metzger was in the home last night, so they surrounded it. But when they searched inside Tuesday morning, they could not find Metzger. Survivors and victims' family members of the Uvalde and Buffalo shootings will testify before Congress today on gun control. Yesterday, actor Matthew McConaughey, who is a gun owner and from Uvalde, Texas, traveled to Washington to urge Congress to strengthen background checks for gun purchases and boost the minimum age to buy an AR-15 style rifle from 18 to 21. Elise Preston has more on the growing national outcry for new gun control legislation.
Thank you.
Visiting the White House, actor Matthew McConaughey made an impassioned plea for change after a wave of mass shootings and gun violence that shocked the nation.
We start by making the loss of these lives matter. Find a middle ground, the place where most of us Americans live anyway.
The Uvalde, Texas native spoke of meeting the parents of 10-year-old Alethea Ramirez. She's one of the 19 students killed, with 2 of their teachers in one of the worst school shootings in U.S. history.
Now, Alethea, her dream was to go to art school in Paris and one day share her art with the world.
On Capitol Hill, the son of 86-year-old Ruth Whitfield, who was killed in last month's supermarket mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, urged lawmakers to take action.
Is there nothing that you personally are willing to do to stop the cancer of white supremacy and the domestic terrorism it inspires?
Senators involved in bipartisan talks appear to be moving toward a package that could include enhanced background checks and incentives for states with red flag laws.
Every day we get closer to an agreement, not further away.
We're hoping to actually get an outcome that'll make a difference in the areas of mental health, school safety.
Later this morning, the House Committee on Oversight and Reform will hear from families and survivors of the Uvalde and Buffalo shootings during hearings examining the gun violence epidemic in the U.S. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Among those scheduled to testify, 11-year-old Mia Cerrillo, a 4th grader who smeared her classmates' blood on herself to appear dead during the Uvalde mass shooting. With the recent mass shootings across the country, our own 4-state area law enforcement have to face some tough questions when preparing for such an event. Officials from the Joplin Police Department say they're as proactive as possible when it comes to active shooter threats. They also have investigators who look into potential threats. Some officers are also certified to respond to these events.
We do take this matter very seriously. We've got policies in place, and we We have officers that we send across the country to become certified to respond to active threats. They're certified to teach particular response.
You can find how local school districts are preparing for mass shootings on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Travel industry has seen a boom compared to last summer, and that's according to one local travel agent. One survey from the American Hotel and Lodging Association finds 69% of Americans plan to travel this summer. But rising gas prices and inflation impact these travel plans even more than COVID. Terry Littleton, owner of Reservation Travel Services in Joplin, says the cost of everything has risen, but locally people are still booking.
Their prices are probably 30 to 35% more than last year. And with the cost of fuel, I assume it'll probably go up more. But so far, everybody's been, they understand it, and they're still booking right now.
Later in the show, our very own Bronte Starosky brings us more about what summer travel could look like amid inflation, as well as how folks traveling across country are feeling the pain at the pump. On this date in 1949, George Orwell publishes his novel of dystopian future, 1984. In the novel, the all-seeing leader known as Big Brother becomes a universal symbol for intrusive government and oppressive bureaucracy. Orwell himself never committed to any specific political party. His barnyard fable, Animal Farm, shows how the noble ideals of egalitarian economies can easily be distorted. The book brought him the first taste of critical and financial success, but it was Orwell's last novel, 1984, which brought him lasting fame with its grim vision of a future where all citizens are watched constantly and language is twisted to aid in oppression.
Also important to point out that the person who produces this hour of the KOAM Morning News, that happens to be one of his favorite authors and favorite books. Did you know? Drop a little DYK on the entire staff and the crew. There you go, guys. Do you know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now you know. Also, too, this day in history, weather-wise, it's called Tornado Day. 1941, swath of tornadoes hit Butler County, Kansas. 1953, the ones that tracked from Flint, Michigan, all the way to Cleveland, Ohio. 1961 was the Tulsa outbreak. 61 was the Topeka outbreak on June the 8th. And then 1974 was the Tulsa outbreak.
Quite a day.
Yeah. Now, luckily, we do not have to worry about that on the severe thunderstorm risk map. We are waiting on thunderstorms that are moving in from the northwest. But on the severe thunderstorm risk map, we have not picked up any storm reports. This thing is just hanging out there. Doesn't have a whole lot of movement as of yet. But that's the one we're watching right over I-70 that is going to make its way in. And here's the thing, the longer it hangs out on I-70, because we know which way it's going to track, it's just going to prolong our morning. And so hopefully this thing will get some legs and make a quick run through us and be done with it. But that's also, too, why the rain's going to last until around the noon hour.
All right. Thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Americans have another weapon in the fight against COVID.
The FDA takes a look at a COVID vaccine different from those already on the market. I'm Elise Preston with how the new vaccine works and why it could be beneficial to those who are unvaccinated.
Plus, we're going to take you inside the cockpits of some vintage World War II planes. Not only is Patrick Mahomes known for delivering titles, he's now known for delivering burgers. We'll explain. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, 2 people are dead in Baltimore after multiple people were shot within a span of 45 minutes on Tuesday. Total of 7 men were shot in 2 different parts of northeast Baltimore. In the first shooting, investigators believe 4 men were sitting outside of a house when someone started shooting at them. While police were investigating that shooting, they learned 3 more men had been shot at a different location. Police have not said whether the shootings are related, and they have not named any suspects. Heavy downpours hit Oklahoma City Tuesday morning, stranding cars and even creating part of a roof to collapse. Audrey Goodson has details.
Heavy downpours across the metro Tuesday morning.
What a significant collapse here in this roof.
The weight of that rain collapsing the roof of the Supply One warehouse on Southwest 29.
The northeast part of the building.
Firefighters say the roof collapsed into a break room, injuring 2 people. The problem? Roads were a mess at the time.
Southwest 29th, all that rain, it did flood this road very heavily. There was a couple cars in the roadways that our fire trucks had to get around to pass safely.
Just like your car, fire trucks have to stay safe in rising waters.
Driving through high water is a no-no for us, and for anybody. We advise, we're always telling everybody, turn around, don't drown.
Fortunately, by the time the fire crews arrived, those trapped workers were out.
They did have some minor injuries that they were transported to the hospital for.
The owner of the property refused to comment. A federal jury does not think Chrisley knows best. Reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley were convicted of conspiracy charges to defraud banks out of more than $30 million on Tuesday. That came in the form of fraudulent loans the Chrisley Knows Best stars secured from Atlanta banks before they got famous. According to the Department of Justice, they used that money to buy luxury cars, designer clothing, and real estate. The jury also found the couple admitted to defraud the IRS to avoid paying taxes when the show started making money with the help of their accountant, Peter Tarantino. He was also named and convicted on those charges. They are all scheduled to be sentenced in October. A defense attorney for the Chrisleys says he plans to appeal the decision. Well, from serving up passes to serving up beef, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is now the proud owner of the city's 5th Whataburger location. The location opened on Tuesday. It's the first one directly associated with Mahomes and ownership group KMO Burger. As with other Whataburger openings, this one was expected to be a big enough deal to cause traffic disruptions. So police proactively instituted traffic flow changes to last through the weekend. An extended drive-through line was coned off into the streets for its debut. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Pieces of our country's history on display in Utah in the form of 2 World War II planes. Brian Champagne with the story.
The B-25 Mitchell landed in Logan first from its last stop in Broomfield, Colorado. It's the faster, medium-range World War II bomber. Then came the B-17 Flying Fortress. Bigger, slower, and more commanding.
The B-17 is probably the most iconic strategic bomber of World War II.
And from Tuesday to Sunday at the Logan Airport, you can pay $15, $30 for families, to walk through them both.
We want people to get up close and personal with the airplanes.
Where you can touch what they did and see the world like they did without getting shot at. See the signatures of pilots, people who worked on them and built them.
It's one thing to see these airplanes behind a barricade. It's another to get up close, touch them, go through the airplane, and fly in them.
Flights begin Friday morning and prices range from $375 to $850. Why did they just go up?
Fuel. This aircraft burns at cruise 50 gallons per hour per engine. 4 engines, it burns 200 gallons an hour.
The B-25, about 30 fewer an hour. And caring for 78-year-old planes with engines designed to lose some oil?
We take it easy. We don't fly at night. We don't fly in bad weather. We are trying to not baby it, but take good care of it.
We're not just giving you a heads up on where you can get into a World War II bomber, but also how to get in one. I'm 6 feet tall and I really gotta watch it.
Everybody that goes through this airplane that's never been through it says, I didn't realize how small it was. The airplane gets old, but the experience never gets old.
The late, great, marvelous four-stater Homer Cole, a personal friend of the show, was shot down flying a B-2 over France during World War II. It's an amazing story. If you have a chance, you can find that online. He talks about what it was like to be cramped into a B-2 during a flight, and what happens also too when you know you're going to go down. An amazing story that he loved to tell, and piece of history right here in the 4 states. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, Americans may soon have another option when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines. A Food and Drug Administration panel spent the day evaluating the shot made by Novavax. It's made very differently than the Pfizer and Moderna shots. Elise Preston reports from New York.
An FDA panel has voted in favor of emergency use authorization for a new COVID-19 vaccine from the Maryland drug maker Novavax.
Our vaccine achieved 90% efficacy in our phase 3 study in the U.S. and Mexico, despite the majority of cases being attributed to variants.
Novavax's shot is a protein vaccine similar to traditional vaccines used for hepatitis B and shingles. The vaccine uses a protein that is mass-produced in the lab, unlike the Pfizer and Moderna shots, which teaches the body to make the protein.
Anything we can do to get people more comfortable to be able to accept these potentially life-saving medical products is something that we feel we are compelled to do.
A recent poll found 73% of Americans would like to see additional COVID-19 vaccines developed from a more traditional method. In addition to possibly appealing to millions of Americans who are unvaccinated, Novavax may also be an option for those who are not fully vaccinated or boosted because of adverse reactions to their first or second shot. Although the FDA raised concerns that the vaccine was the cause of several cases of heart inflammation, a problem also reported with other COVID vaccines, Novavax says its shot comes with few side effects.
Most events were mild to moderate and resolved in just a day or two.
Manufacturing problems have held up Novavax's entry into the vaccine market. It's already approved in 41 other countries. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Experts point out the Omicron variant was not circulating when the Novavax vaccine was being tested. Like other vaccines, Novavax is working on an Omicron-targeted booster. Bad dreams could be the earliest signs of Parkinson's disease. A study published in eClinical Medicine found that in a group of older men, those who had frequent nightmares and bad dreams were twice as likely to be later diagnosed with Parkinson's as those who did not. Researchers say this early indicator should prompt patients to talk to their doctor. Researchers in Texas studied more than 1,200 people 50 and older who had knee osteoarthritis. They found those walking for exercise were less likely to develop frequent knee pain, and regular walking may also prevent additional damage to the joint. And a sunny outlook could extend your golden years. Research in the Journal of American Geriatric Society found that higher levels of optimism were associated with longer lifespans and an increased likelihood of living past 90. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, Montgomery County authorities search for a hit-and-run driver.
Waiting on the rain as it moves in from the northwest. So far, so good, but it's going to end up being a little bit of a wet Wednesday, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And gas prices might be rising, but that's not stopping people from summertime travel.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Slow-moving system coming out of the northwest, Tanya. Feels like we're just sitting on our hands waiting for it to arrive. Live look over 7th and Rangeline, where our dip in temperatures has taken us down to 65 degrees. So slowly but surely, we'll have cooler temperatures preceding what's going to work in from the top left of your screen. There's also a fine line of lightning involved with this as well. That's in the last 3 minutes. If we back this up and say, oh, the last 15 minutes, yeah, that's what that thing's been able to produce. Let's go ahead and put the storm tracks on, kind of give us an idea of where everything is headed, because we've got this one up here that's going to drop down upon us, and then double barrel system action as we've got the one right now generating on the east side of Ponca City that will also head toward the 4 states. The one down now, say, just to the south of Delaware County. It, however, will continue into northwest Arkansas. So that actually won't have a bearing on us. So just kind of focus up on the top and out to the west right now. Our temperatures in between, say, 62 and 71, so quite a wide variety. As this thing rolls through for the morning hours, eventually it'll be done by, say, noon, 1 o'clock with the sporadic rain on the backside of it. After that, we get some sunshine, get up into the 80s this afternoon, mild overnight. Thursday is looking great. Friday, right back at it. Storm system moves in from the west, and then we're going to focus next week on a heat wave. We're going to throw up the 90s on Sunday, continue that all the way to the middle of next week.
We've been avoiding the actual digits on there saying 90s, even though it feels like that quite often.
Yeah, that's going to feel about like 95 next week. It's going to be a nice mild morning though, and I'm going to like paint a pretty picture here because the rain is coming. But what we have seen is the consistent 70s that we had earlier this morning now dropping down to high 60s, mid 60s. So that'll take a little bite out of our humidity and it'll slow us down from warming up so much during the afternoon.
Okay, all right, we'll keep that apprised. All right, thanks, Michael. Montgomery County, Kansas authorities searched for a hit-and-run suspect after they failed to capture him in an overnight standoff. This is a photo from the Montgomery County Chronicle of a police vehicle outside an Independence home during the standoff. Independence police were looking for 39-year-old Brian Metzger on a charge of attempted murder. They say last Thursday he intentionally hit another man with a car and then left the scene. Police had reason to believe Metzger was in the home last night, so they surrounded it. But when they searched inside Tuesday morning, they could not find Metzger. Record high gas prices are impacting anyone hitting the road this summer as drivers voice their frustrations. One local travel agent says she's seeing more people traveling than before the pandemic. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more.
The Missouri Welcome Center right off of I-44 has seen travelers from all over, all worried about the same issue. A study from the American Hotel and Lodging Association found that roughly 60% of Americans said they would take more trips this year compared to last year, although they found higher gas prices are causing travelers to scale back their summer plans.
Hotels are outrageously priced. I don't know why they raised their prices.
Travel agent Terry Littleton says despite high prices, she's seen an increase in local residents traveling this summer.
A lot of people are traveling. They're fulfilling their dreams or their bucket lists, and even with the price of fuel and everything going up right now, I think more people are concentrating on spending their money on experiences and services.
But not everyone is okay with forking over extra money for a summer trip.
The prices in fuel for planes, which in turn is ticket prices to us, ridiculous. We're thinking about not going to Hawaii this year because it's going to be over $1,000 this time.
Littleton said the best way to get more bang for your buck, plan in advance.
The good thing about booking in advance is you can pay, most of the time if it's a package deal or a cruise, you can put down a deposit and then your final payment's not due for a few more months depending on how far out you're booking, and then that allows people to kind of pay a little at a time and not have to just whip out a bunch of money all at once.
And if you are traveling this summer, it may be hard to avoid inflation during your trip. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Experts say there is no immediate end in sight to rising fuel costs. On this date, back in 1984, the now classic comedy Ghostbusters is released in theaters across the United States. Produced and directed by Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters starred Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis as disgraced parapsychology professors in New York City who turned to hunting down and capturing ghosts as a way to make money. Despite its hefty $30 million budget production, an unprecedented amount for a comedy, Ghostbusters was a box office hit by any standard, beating out Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom to become the second highest grossing movie of the year with $229 million, behind only Beverly Hills Cop. Ghostbusters spawned a hit 1989 sequel, Ghostbusters 2, also co-written by Aykroyd and Ramis. to animated television series and the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife in 2021. An all-female-led cast of Ghostbusters, directed by Paul Feig, was released in 2016. Many people don't want to talk about that one.
Not gonna lie to you, I got one ear on you, and I got storm reports coming in. Just really quick, do we give Aykroyd writing credit?
Yes, for the, well, we mentioned it for the second one, but for both of them, yes.
Yeah, because of he was obsessed with, I don't want to say he's obsessed with the occult, but
Paranormal.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to say. And then I heard you say Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, that was the #1 grossing movie in 1984. Ghostbusters
Really?
came in 2. Yeah.
No, Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in Ghostbusters.
Huh.
It was gonna be just the old SNL crew. Yeah, I had no idea that Beverly Hills Cop beat out That's funny. Gosh, can you imagine if Eddie Murphy would have done Ghostbusters and Beverly Hills Cop? And by the way, for those of you that are just joining us, thank you for waking up with us. Also, too, if you're like, who's this Eddie Murphy you speak of? You mean the voice of Shrek? I strongly suggest you go back and you watch Beverly Hills Cop and you watch Raw. Do so without young children in the room, but enjoy the man's comedic talents. All right, Tanya, here's the storm reports that I was talking about. Trevor and I were just talking about this while that story was going on. We've got multiple reports coming out of the Kansas City area from early this morning. Numerous power lines down. Lee's Summit right now is where the majority of the video is coming out of, as well as just pretty much all throughout Johnson County. Here's the great news that I want to pass on, though. No injuries or major structural damage. Now, the pictures are pretty crazy as far as the roofs and the trees. So when you look at the pictures and you hear the phrase, no injuries or major structural damage, we will call ourselves lucky, for those of us with friends and family up in the Kansas City area. Here in the 4 states, we're just sitting back waiting on this line right here to move in on us, because it's stalled out for the most part. Luckily, it has not spawned any storm reports, so we will call that a winner so far.
All right. I'll call it a winner, too. I like that. All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, we take a sweet look at the possible future of honey.
Real honey without the bees. I'm Nichelle Medina with how a California company has developed beeless honey.
Plus, the 4-state area is no stranger to helping out the community, whether it's giving time or giving blood. And we want to know how you help your community. We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, from meat to milk, these days Americans are looking for plant-based alternatives. As Nichelle Medina reports, a California-based company is now making honey without the bees.
In the heart of Brooklyn, New York, Little Chalk Apothecary is serving up a plant-based menu. Elena Beresneva is the co-owner.
We make sweet crepes here, and honey is very popular sweetener for the crepes.
Inside these crepes is a sweet new alternative to honey that is catching a lot of buzz.
No one can tell the difference.
The world is definitely hungry for honey.
Darko Mandic is a former bee honey industry executive. Using synthetic biology, his company, MeliBio, has produced real honey without the bees.
Did people think you were crazy?
Absolutely. We learn how to work with plants and extract stuff and create a proprietary process and put that together into a plant-based honey.
Other companies like Israeli-based BIO are also working to create a bee-free honey. The number of honeybees continues to dwindle. Scientists believe several man-made and environmental factors are to blame. As the bee population drops, so does the production of honey. The USDA says it was down 14% 2020 to 2021.
Our appetite for this delicious and amazing product comes at a huge consequence.
Mandich believes his product could be an alternative, especially for vegans who avoid food that comes from animals.
For years, people have been asking for some vegan substitute for honey. Now we can finally offer it to them.
It has that floral clover taste that a lot of vegan honey substitutes lack. It honestly tastes exactly like honey.
Restaurants in New York and LA are trying out Melibio's product. The company hopes to start selling to consumers next year. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, Los Angeles.
That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, helping your community. A group named Spire, hard at work in Birmingham, Alabama, building temporary housing. Here's why. An event called the World Games is headed to Birmingham, and it stipulates that no one is allowed to live on the streets for 10 days while the games take place. So this group is organizing temporary housing for the homeless community while the games are there. Still have not, and I did try to do a little research, still have not figured out why it cannot remain up after their July 17 deadline, but hopefully they can find a long-term solution to help people as well. Our question for you this morning, how do you help your community? Right now, 38% of you, this is phenomenal, especially with the interviews that we do with the Red Cross and whatnot, 38% say it's by donating blood, followed by 18% with donating money. We appreciate everything you do for your community and appreciate you taking part in our Insta poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Also, the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We'll be back with birthdays and anniversaries, but first, off to New York. Let's check in with DJ.
I'm Dana Jacobson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll talk with Oscar-winning actress Ariana DeBose. She's stepping into the role of host for this year's Tony Awards, and we'll ask her how she's getting ready for the big night. That is coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four state heroes. Senior Master Sergeant Thomas Brakel. The Iola, Kansas native served from 1968 to 1969 at the Korat Air Force Base in Thailand. To Senior Master Sergeant Thomas Brakel, we thank you. Today's four state hero.
Let's kick the old birthday list off with Emily Lehman, who is celebrating #1. And she's ready to climb a ladder at 1 year old. I'm just going to make that point clear. Kid's got big things in her future right there. A very happy birthday to Miss Emily in Reeds.
A cute picture there. Let's see, we've got Olivia Kirkwood, 7 strong today. Great picture there of Miss Olivia in Baxter Springs with birthday love coming from Mima and Papa.
I love that bow right there. Look how colorful that is. That's awesome.
Matches her star on her shirt.
Double digits. That's right. Do not go dead red on him. He will yank that thing. That's a stance right there. That's one of those, that's a picture that you take and you show it to other kids and you're like, got the back elbow up, got the left elbow in, we're cocked and ready to roll. Groove me one, pitcher. Groove me one.
Nice.
Happy 10th birthday to Aiden Harris in Erie. Swing for the fence, kiddo.
All right, and Mira Marie King is celebrating birthday number 10 this year. In Chanute, Miss Myra is getting birthday love from family and friends today.
You notice how colorful our birthday pictures are
I've
today?
seen a lot of pink.
Yeah.
I like it.
They're just wearing super bright colors. It's awesome. Drew Kotzman celebrating them. Now, Drew's going the opposite way.
Yeah.
Well, but here's why. If you're going to bag something like that, Drew, nicely done, my man. He's celebrating his 12th birthday. And Drew, you let me know when we're cooking up. And Tanya and I will be there in a heartbeat. And Drew is in Arcadia.
Well, in Moran, Kansas, Bubba Zybung turning 31 years old this year. Hope you have a wonderful birthday. With love from Mom, Dad, your brother, and sister-in-law.
Oh, you know what we love to yell? We got a boogny birthday. Miss Melissa celebrating her 36. Melissa, a very happy birthday to you.
Look at that smiling family there. Love it.
That's great.
All right, and we've got a 3rd anniversary for the McPhersons. Hunter and Emily celebrating 3 years of wedded bliss in front neck. And here they are pictured with their son, Jackson.
I'm a big fan of Jackson in that picture because Emily is obviously doing the selfie, and she's got Hunter in there. And then whatever event that they were at, and you can tell with the animals in the background, Jackson was like, there's something way more important over there than Mom's cell phone. I love that.
Well, and that could be a little bit of reason behind the concerned look in his face.
That's
I actually was thinking that he was trying to learn to smile like Daddy, but then I realized there's a bear behind Daddy that's smiling possibly even more.
That's tremendous. All right, let's go to Columbus because that's where Amy Shanks is celebrating a birthday. A very happy birthday to Amy. Also happens to be where Colt Gregory is celebrating a birthday in Columbus as well. Colt's turning 20 today. Happy birthday. Christina Larkey, a happy 89th birthday to Miss Christina. And Richard and Barbara Frank, 48 years of marriage. Congratulations to the Frank family as they celebrate in Columbus. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
All right, if you're having a party in the bus or just anywhere, you might as well go ahead and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. Go to our website and do it at KOAMnewsnow.com. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Sign up today.
Coming up when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14, we talked about all the colorful photos that we had. Well, that 7-year-old right there, his favorite color is brown. That's right. He wants to be a UPS driver, and he got a special wish. He got to play UPS driver for an entire day. His amazing story coming up when we transition to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Together.
Final look at the Skywatch storm tracker as we await on this system hanging up to our northwest. We just haven't really had much movement in it. It is packing a fair amount of lightning that stretches all the way from Hutch to Emporia. We're starting to see a little bit of the shower activity intrude upon our far northern counties, and that's where we're also seeing the dip in our temperatures. But once again, as we wait for it to collapse to the southeast, it's posing most of its problems throughout central Kansas. Right now we sit at 65 in Joplin. Let's go 65 in Chanute as well, 71 in Miami, 67 in Nevada. Remember, we still do have flood warnings for the Neosho River down in the Miami Commerce area and also the Marmonton River in Vernon County just on the other side of Nevada. As we sit back and, like I said, we await everything to transpire. Eventually this afternoon we'll be up into the low 80s. The nice thing about this front moving in, it'll take a little bite out of our temperatures as it does. And what that will do is keep us from being way too humid this afternoon. So as it rolls through, be done with it. With the timeline now, I'm going to back that up and say probably maybe 1 or 2 p.m. by the time it's all said and done. Lock in for a wonderful looking Thursday. Finally some sunny skies, some dry weather, chance to relax. And then for Friday morning, here we go again. More thunderstorm activity moving in from the west. Big factor, Tanya, as we work toward the weekend. Saturday's looking glorious as well. Sunday. You know, Saturday night, if you're out and about, you're going to notice it doesn't cool off one bit. Sunday morning, when we all wake up and walk out the door, you're already going to be going, whew, just a little bit of a warm morning start. An indicator that heat wave comes and gets us next week.
I'm kind of bummed because Sunday's the day I'm planning on mowing and it's going to be so muggy and gross outside.
Saturday wouldn't be bad if you can fit it in.
Yeah, I know.
Especially Saturday evening.
I'll try. We'll
Okay.
see. It's got to be dry first, though.
And that's what I'm saying. Saturday evening, coming off of the Friday rain, it'll be done by Friday evening. Give yourself 16 hours. Saturday evening is going to be a great time to get outside and do that.
All right. I bet a lot of people will take that advice then. Seriously, that would be the best time to mow, Saturday afternoon. The healthiest time.
You're right.
If you do it on Sunday, hydrate, wear sunblock.
Yeah, I was going to say sunscreen as well because we're going to have mostly sunny skies.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making engagement chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I do. Oh, my bad.
Okay.
Wrong kind. Feel free to flip on over to us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, where we will continue to track that thunderstorm activity up to our northwest. Just do me a favor today. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.